61 Magic. All Magic Paint and Auto Body says drive carefully.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. But I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, and playing our 25-year anniversary. I keep forgetting to ask Frank. I think you're playing those before my show, so we don't have to play it inside the show. But we are celebrating, and I'm just so grateful to still be here. This is a show about hope and happiness, so there's no gossip, no scandal, no K-words, no Kanye talk at all. Instead, formerly or now known as, instead, I'm here to balance out all the bad news that is so readily available with some good news. And we are on show number 1,086 or 96, but 615 consecutive weeks on the air. And if you've missed any one of those shows, you can free subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can watch and listen, or you can go and just listen on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, Streaker, and more. So that's who I am. That's what is going on. And it is Monday, which means it's Mental Health Awareness for Mental Health Matters Mondays. It's a special series that I have beautiful, wonderful co-hosts pretty much every other day in the week, and I wanted to keep Mondays open for me to connect with you in my role as a happiness coach and help with those things that seem to get in the way of our claiming our birthright to happiness. So that is what you're tuned into today. And the topic is good grief. Those of you who are on my Instagram just saw me pop up the story, which is all of the, my Charlie Brown insert when I was there, and the, help for 5 cents. Actually, this is free. So I am so delighted to have people actually ready and waiting for this topic. Maria, welcome to the show. She's one of my co-captains of my Cashew Gallery, which is what happens when you free subscribe to my YouTube channel. And yes, good morning to you too. In fact, she's going to have breakfast with me this morning, as well as Frank, who is running my soundboard. Thank you so much, Frank. I always really value you when you are not here. But I am glad to have you this morning. I start pretty much every show this last year and a half now with taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich, which is part of my Blisscipline, one of the good life habits that keeps me on a high-flying disc and as happy as possible 88% of the time. So we practice at the top of the show pretty much every day. So what does that mean? It means 8 things at the top of the button are things that you are grateful for. Now, one of my teachers who's on the other side now is Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he said if you start your day with 5 gratitudes every single day, you're going to have an amazing life. And I'm an overachiever, so 8 is what I asked for, and 8's also a lucky number in Chinese, which I know you thought I was Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese and I speak Mandarin. And 8 is a homophone, ba and fa. So 8 is ba, fa is good fortune, which is why I use that number a lot. So we want 8 things that you are grateful for. And we're coming up on Chinese New Year. I should probably do a full show on that. Remind me if we have time today to go into a little preparation of what you should be doing before Saturday. For example, clean your house now, not on New Year's, otherwise you will sweep away your good fortune. Same with cutting your hair, don't do that either before Friday so that you are not cutting away your fortune as well. All right, so let's see, what are we grateful for? Yay, I have one from Frank. I am grateful for music. And I am grateful that yesterday I got to teach Mahjong to lovely people here in the building to begin the celebration of the Lunar Year. And it is a little like the horoscope, but not in that it's not the month that you're born, but the year that you're born. And if you don't know what year, again, we'll see if we can hit that today. If not, we'll definitely hit it this week before New Year. All right. I am grateful for getting to speak all over the place. Started on Thursday, and every single day I've gotten to speak, and I will be culminating a giant 1-year project tomorrow with the client on strategic planning. I'm grateful for that work as an organizational psychologist. That's 3. Looking for Maria's gratitude. I'm grateful that I get to, there's so many ways in which I get to splatter more hope and happiness, and motivational speaking is definitely one of my favorites. That's starting back up. I'm grateful that this book that we're going to be taking some tools from today sold out when I was in Australia on book tour that got cut short by COVID. I'm grateful that I have amazing friends and family who are so supportive of everything that I get to do. And I'm grateful that the sun is shining today. And it seems like everywhere I go, the weather is fabulous all through the 3 weeks I was away, 2 weeks in Australia and 1 week in New Zealand. People kept saying, you know, it's not normally this hot or not normally this whatever. And I, try to take credit for bringing good weather with me. I'm just grateful for that. Maria, I'm grateful that as a rooster, I am the year of the year of the dragon. Will have good fortune this year. Looking forward to make it happen. Ah, you're a rooster. Awesome. That means we get along because I am an ox, and the way it works is the Chinese horoscope will give you your characteristics. So as an ox, I'm bright, patient, kind, inspiring to others. And then it'll say, avoid sheep. So anybody born in the year of sheep, you're not supposed to marry, okay? Or, be close to. And then it tells you what is a good sign for you to relate to. And guess what, Maria? It is a rooster. And just as funny, even though it's Monday and not Thursday or Friday, and we all have to take this into context. So I don't know, maybe you might need to have your finger on the trigger there, right? But Maria, the funny thing is when I was at a restaurant and it was like, hole in the wall kind of restaurant, and on the horoscope placemat, it said, year of the ox, bright, patient, kind, inspired to other, outstanding parent, good on their own, avoid marrying sheep, and likes, what's another word for rooster? Starts with the C. I'll let you fill in the blank just in case. I don't want to get in trouble today. See if you figured that out. It rhymes with pot and starts with a C. So likes, anyways. So that way you don't have to dump it. But a little funny in that gratitude around our Chinese horoscopes. All right, going to the bottom of the bun, which is, what do I like about myself? And the reason why we do that is a lot of us grew up being told, you're not all that, you're not good enough, you are, who says who do you think you are? And as a result of that, we have a tendency to think the worst of us. I'll ask when I'm on stage, how many of you say, I am my own worst critic? And almost every hand, if not every hand, will go up. And that, in one hand, you don't want to be full of yourself, but on the other hand, when you're always putting yourself down or always seeing yourself in the worst light or always criticizing yourself, that's really not good for mental health. So this part of the exercise is very important for mental health, is do you know how to appreciate yourself? Because frankly, my dear, if you can't approve of yourself, how the fork do you expect anybody else to? So the bottom of the bun is, I think, the most important part of breakfast, which is the ability to appreciate yourself. And I actually have you do this before you go to bed at night. So instead of this, which is MS, meaningless scrolling, plug it in somewhere else, and then fall asleep thinking about the things that you do well, the things that you are good at, the things that are good about you, instead of what didn't get done, how bad you are, embracing those criticisms that you get, and not looking at the compliments, and basically falling as, no wonder you can't fall asleep. So this is the most important part of taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. So that's the preamble, a little longer today because it is Mental Health Matters Mondays, and I do see eyeballs coming in. Thank you for joining us. You can free subscribe to my YouTube TV channel so that you can watch and listen. All right, Maria, I like that I can think outside of the box. That helps keep my mind open to learn. Beautiful. And in case I forget, Maria has her own show on YouTube, TV, on her TV channel, that you'll have to go catch. I've been a guest on her show, and I think I have been a guest. Maybe I still have to be a guest. Oh, it's Troy's show I've been on. Yeah, we're still working on that, but she's been a guest here, and I'm just delighted every time she can pop in. All right, I appreciate that I have a great sense of humor. It may not be good for you, but for me, it's a great sense of humor, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that I can appreciate myself, and that I have learned that to be my own best support is I am my best friend, and I cut myself slack when I'm not perfect, because I'm not, but I know that I'm 88% fabulous, and then 12% of the time I step in it. And when I do, I just remember that I am lovable, loving, and loved, 88% fabulous, and then I pick myself up and keep going. Let's see. Yes, haha. Yes, you will be soon, I hope. Okay. Let's see. Any other appreciations? I think we're up to almost 8, but I appreciate my resilience, that I take criticism less seriously than I used to. Like, it used to just topple me down. I still don't like it, but I try to stay out of MSU University. MSU University is making shiitake up. And sometimes when you have had criticism, you start looking for it or seeing it where it's not, just because you've got those glasses on looking for criticism or looking for love in all the wrong places. So I appreciate my ability to drop out of MSU University. And that is it for Breakfast with Dr. Marissa and Maria and Frank, and wherever you are. If you're watching this now or later, I would ask that you pause and just do the gratitude sandwich yourself and get in the habit of that every day. It was wonderful hearing James, my co-host on Thursday for Straight Talk, say that when I forced him to do that at the beginning, he honestly did not like the bottom of the button. And now that he's been doing it, he appreciates it because he realizes how important it is to exercise the muscle of approving, soothing, loving, caring for yourself. All right, that's it for breakfast. Thanks for joining us. And now we are going to hit the topic for the day. Maria is happy that I've picked this topic. It is definitely something that will get in the way of your ability to be happy 88% of the time. I've called it good grief because of my little photo with, I think I even have it here, yes, I do. Whoops, not that one, that one. The doctor's in. This is obviously from Snoopy and I believe Knott's Berry Farm. But good grief. Let's talk about grief for a minute. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is recently I met for the first time someone who I was playing mahjong with, actually, and lovely woman. And but I began to notice she was not smart. She doesn't smile a lot. And even when she wins a hand, and the other new player that I played with said, if you're going to win and take my money, at least put a smile on your face. So it was from that she began to share with me why she's not happy. And she said that she used to be happy. She used to be the life of the party. She used to love going traveling. She used to love, very different person. She said she was very outgoing. She was the first to say, let's go here, let's do that. And her husband, the love of her life for 40 some years, died from a brain tumor, I believe it was, about 4.5 years ago. And since then, she says, I cannot, I don't smile, I don't go out much. I've lost my zest for living. I've lost my love of living. I just feel like there's really nothing here anymore. She still has family, but it's her complete essence, I would say, was missing or gone in her. And that's her observation. I only met her, I spent the day with her, but I could feel that sadness, that overwhelming sadness, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart because it took me back, actually, to something that happened in 2013 when I was in my second year of this show, and through no effort on my part, but it's one of those things where I was supposed to be, even though I tried to sort of, I offered to be of help. I lived in Seal Beach. I raised both my daughters there, and I had a firsthand intense encounter with grief, being in the Seal Beach Library with all of the family members of those who had been gunned down at the Seal Beach Salon shooting. And I had offered help, and they said, no, we have grief experts coming. And I said, that's fine, left. And then I didn't get very far before I heard my voice being called. And a friend of mine I just saw at the gym that morning said, you have to help my best friend. He's on his way. His wife, is shot, presumed dead, and you have to help. You can't leave. So I ended up going in with him, and then just, heartbroken watching all these people in the library face the tragedy that they never expected and the love of their lives, mothers, sisters, grandmothers, all of them having to face death and intense grief in one, that first experience. And with no disrespect intended, having people walk around with, this piece of paper on, what to say and how to help people who are in intense grief. I just found myself watching and learning just what worked and what didn't work. And what didn't work was sitting down and talking to people. What worked was just holding people at that moment, that physical touch of hugging, or even if they didn't want to be touched, just having a hand on the hand or a hand on the shoulder. And just that was the most what I could see as the most effective thing to help ease, never take away, but ease the pain that comes with intense grief. And that's when she started talking about how she has changed as a result of loss. It was one of the experiences that I used to do chapter 2, which is out of loss into faith. So that's our topic for today. If you have personal experiences with grief, if you are right now knowing that you aren't as happy as you could be, the grief could be 10 years old, the grief could be yesterday. What we're going to do is I'm going to share some of the tools and my experiences, what I use in happiness coaching. I'm also going to give away an audiobook copy of this book to anyone. I'm not going to say the first 3 or whatever, anyone who's touched and wants to be able to move through some of their grief and pain, because it is keeping you in a place that even the person that you've lost, we're going to talk about the word loss, it wouldn't want you, then this is the episode for you. So there's your preamble and your setting the context for today's show. And let me go in here. Oh, good. We have all kinds of comments in here. And good. Christian Danielle, welcome to the show. And you tuning in on my YouTube channel, please hit the free subscribe and you will be able to get an alert every weekday morning when you are here in order to tune in. All right, let's see. I'm just realizing we are missing something. There we go. You are live with Dr. Marissa. Okay, so I gave you a little bit on that first moment. That first, I would say, from my experience, the first month is it's so fresh and it's so painful that any kind of coaching is almost counterproductive, because it will either drive the grief underground or the pain underground, where it gets infected. So I would say in that first month, like that first day, the most effective thing that you can do for yourself, if you're the one going through the pain, is the tool called Feel It Fully. And so Feel It Fully, if that's the balance tool, the one extreme that is not good, right, is not feeling it at all. I'm fine, I'll get over it. maybe not saying that out loud, but the pain is too painful. It is too much. There's that feeling that if you felt that pain, and I had that, I collapsed. I can remember at my father's funeral because the pain, the physical pain, was so intense that my body could not even absorb the pain. And when you're having that feeling, it is good to be with someone who knows you and you love, and you might sometimes it's even good to coach people in that first time. Is I don't want to talk through this. I just want you to hold me so I know that I can share this pain, physical pain with you, so that I don't go down the rabbit hole so far that I want to do something that is really not good for me. So it is, I don't want people to judge themselves. Of course, you're going to feel like you cannot survive the pain. You cannot, like Humpty Dumpty. You think you're going to break in a million pieces and never be put together again. And I would ask those who are supporting people in that first month to say less, hug more, allow them the space to completely feel the pain. And when I do this in coaching, as a result of that whole incident, I ended up being called a grief expert. I didn't get a certificate in it. I don't want to misrepresent myself, but I certainly do have enough of the experience to know what to do and what not to do in a large number of experiences now. And that's where I speak from. So I want you all to know I am a psychologist. I'm an organizational psychologist. I don't want you to take this advice as medical advice or as clinical advice, but this is as a happiness coach. Okay. So there's the disclaimer. However, I do know that I have enough clients who have successfully moved through the pain, not to never feel the pain, but there's enough efficacy of this approach that I know it works. So that's what I'm sharing with you right now. So that first month, it is really important to feel fully, and that's the balance tool. How do you feel fully? When you cry, you cry. When you feel like crying, you cry. Now, it's really important tears are the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. It's important also, though, to recognize that there are better times to allow yourself to cry than others. If you can work with yourself. So we all have sort of we have a balance-centered self, and this is my methodology in coaching is getting in touch with who you really are. So you have a balance-centered self who, for example, if you're feeling yourself start to cry, and let's say you're making a presentation. So you're making a presentation, people understand that you have had some loss, and you can feel the tears, and you can say to yourself, it's okay to feel sad, but I promise, we're going to take a bubble bath tonight, and we're going to cry it out. Or we're going to watch a sad movie tonight, and we're going to cry it out. But right now, we've done a really big presentation prep, and I want to support my team members here who are counting on me to do this part of the presentation. And that's your balance-centered self, loving and caring for the part who's sad, who has every reason to be sad, but at the same time, we are in this thing called life, and we're moving through this process called grief that everybody feels at some point and at some level or another. So it's not possible to go take off, a full month to do nothing but cry, nor is that necessarily good grief. Okay. Grief is a natural, normal, understandable reaction to someone you love leaving. And that's my balance-centered self, soothing myself and saying, no, we don't want to not cry. That's not helpful. But to cry all the time as well is not helpful to our bodies. But when we feel like crying, we cry. When we feel like being angry at the loss, we're angry. When we feel hopeless, we identify, I'm just not feeling very hopeful at this point that I will ever feel happy again. So journaling or writing out what you're feeling is how to feel it fully as well. You don't need to send it to anybody, but you write out, hit save draft, all of those feelings. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross has a beautiful stages of death and dying. It's life isn't always as clean as that. You cycle through, you may change some of the orders, but to get to that point of acceptance is a healthy way to deal with grief. But you're not always going to feel in acceptance. You will feel points of pain again. You come across a letter. Those of you who missed the interview with Paul, he was the husband who Candy asked me to help with him, and I've stayed in touch, and he just a beautiful man who took that whole experience and tried to change some legislation around people having the ability to have guns when they're going through a difficult time like a divorce and custody battle, which is what led to the gunman's shooting. So that first part of the grief stage is so important to feel the pain fully. And when you're feeling the pain, if you can have your balance-centered self say, or a friend say, I promise it's not always going to be this painful. Because sometimes saying everything's going to be okay, it's not. It's too early because you're not feeling like everything's going to be okay. So if I had the woman that I gave you the example of as a client, that's what I would do. She has taken the pain and now identified the pain of the loss of her husband as who she is. And so that pain has taken over her entire life. So that's the other extreme. So I talked about extremes. The left side is pushing it down, never feeling it all, not dealing with it, pushing it so deeply that it gets infected and it begins to seep gas and poison into your life later because you haven't dealt with the pain. The other extreme is allowing that pain to become a full-blown, this is who you are. That's also the other end, which is also not healthy, because the last thing that her husband would have wanted was for her to live a life of pain and sacrifice to the monument of his leaving. I know that. People who are on the other side love us more even than the way they could love us as a human. Because on that side, it is all love. That is all the energy of the love. And love does not want us to live in eternal pain. That is not love. So I know that. So, but in that first month, and then it goes and it will probably, peter off. It won't be as painful as time goes, not because you don't love them, not because you don't miss them, not because you don't, still want what that was, that is no longer, but you will be able to feel the pain for I wouldn't say a shorter time. Sometimes it's not shorter. Sometimes it's the same. Sometimes it's more intense. Sometimes it's less intense. But in time, the healing process from that intense pain will begin to um, um, uh, smooth out. I guess that's the best way to say it. And when it smooths out is when you can begin to work with um, who you are, the pain of who you are, and seeing what, and this is the next tool, is being able to transition into remembering them whole. And before we go into that, I need to do a station ID. If you've just tuned in and wondering what's going on in the studio today, it is Monday, Mental Health Matters Awareness and Tools to help you be happier. Me as a happiness coach on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and my YouTube TV channel where you can watch and listen. And you can also participate. I'm going to check in with my cashew gallery here. If you have any questions or comments, or you're going through something right now and want some specific tools, please do put them in the chat and I can answer them. Or if there's something that you agree or disagree with, please do also put that in the chat. So we're now into the next phase of what I think is a loving way to move through grief, and that is remembering them whole. There is a tendency when you lose someone to focus on the last. If it was a tragedy, the way they died, the last hour, the last day. If it's a chronic illness, you tend to remember the 6 months of pain in the worst. I went through this watching a boyfriend die of leukemia, and just watching him go from this football jock, gorgeous, and then from the steroids, completely change into, this bloated and weak. And it was just heartbreaking watching that go. And I felt guilty that I felt bad about it because, I didn't want to react to that, but I'm human. And watching that was very painful. And so I would spend, every time I thought about it, I would flash back to him there. And so the tool that I think is so important to balance out that second phase of grief is called remembering, like widen your memory past that first tragedy or that last, however long the illness was, chronic illness, to their whole life. And the practical application of that is watching my dad die from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He first, when we found out he had bruises all over his body, he fainted in the bathroom. That was like March, and I got the call. I was facilitating a leadership class or a diversity class at Mattel. I remember the call. I had to fly immediately back to Canada, and it took them another 6 months to figure out it was non-Hodgkin's. He came down to visit to get expert advice out of UCLA, and watching him hack out his lungs and lose his strength and lose his taste. It was a horrible time. And I made a conscious decision to use this tool, which is why I know it works, and in my own life, is I sat down, and instead of sitting down and saying, how do you feel, which is crappy, trying to talk him into feeling better, can't. Talking about what the doctor said, depressing. I made a conscious decision to write him a book. And I wrote him a book to thank him for all that he had taught me in the entirety of his life. And it was beautiful. So every day when I sat with him, I could read all that he had taught me instead of talking about what the doctor said. And I'll tell you, it was the most beautiful time that I had with my father. And he would talk about things that he never talked about because there was space to do this. So if you're working with anyone right now, if you're watching someone that you love go through a chronic illness, please take this tool, use this tool, start writing. When you call them, my mother has Parkinson's. She's starting to have some dementia. I call her every 2-3 days. And instead of asking her, what did the doctor say? How are you feeling today? Because when I do, she'll launch into bowel movements and, side effects. And it's the same thing every day. So then I'll ask her, hey, Mom, what was that thing in the recipe? Or do you remember that time? And that allows her to tell me things that she's never told me before. So again, this is a tool, a Happy 88 tool to use as you're watching someone, transition towards the other side. So there's another tool. Now, the chapter is called Out of Loss into Faith. You notice I did not apologize for getting emotional because this was a good way to go back and remember, but I'm not going back and now, identifying with, he shouldn't have died and how did he die and why did he die? I know, and this relates to the faith part. Yes, you will probably go through a time where you're mad at God. That's normal. How could you take them? Why did this happen? Snuffed out in the, prime of his life. We hear it every day. Gun violence leading to people die. The little kid that died, from the road rage thing that I couldn't help but see because I was at the physical therapy. And you can get mad. That's part of the process. But I want to offer you my BS, my belief system around death. Because if you can embrace a new way of looking at death, it will help you have a happier life. And you don't have to, okay? This is Kool-Aid I'm asking you to drink, definitely. And the reason why I do it is because I know from personal experience that I have every right to believe that life on earth is the only life, because for those who are scientists or, this is all we know. We don't know if there's a heaven or earth. We don't know if there's a God or not. We don't know. And so, yes, if this is all we have, and if someone doesn't leave of old age after having a full life, it's not fair. Well, that BS, that belief system will probably get you angry and pissed off and depressed and sad a lot, because there's a lot of people that don't make it to the old age after living a full life. And therefore, most of life is unfair, right? Because I don't even know the statistic, how many people actually fall into that category of being able to have the full life. And then even, it's never, my bonus mom and dad are 91 and 94. And even at 94, that's on the ad end, but am I ready to say goodbye and not have him in my life to talk to every day like I check in every day? No, I'm not. And it's going to be sad when he does go to that other side. But I have a new way of understanding. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be sad for a little while. I'm going to go through this process and use my own tools. But I do know, I choose to know that I know I came from this giant quantum soup of love. That's where I came from. And I'm going to that giant quantum soup of love, the energy of love, pure positive energy, however you want to call it. That's where I'm going when I die. Almost every single person I know who've had a near-death experience talks about the feeling of peace, the bright lights, the soft lights, the sense of peace. I think I've heard one who didn't have that experience, had more of a purgatory. But if you look at the odds or probability, I know that's where I'm going. So yes, you can't say, well, if that's where we're going, then we should not feel sad when someone goes. Of course you're going to feel sad because you had that human experience with them, and you will miss that human experience with them. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we should all like, oh, let's go. If it's that great, let's go there. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. It is pure positive energy, but I'm here on life because I wanted to experience tactical taste, touch, sight, sound, which in pure positive energy, there is no expression of that. There is no experience of that. So I wanted to come to be a human, to experience life this way. That's my BS, my Kool-Aid, my belief system. So that when my loved ones do go, and I try not to use the word loss because I'm not losing anybody. I'm not losing that person, but I am having to adjust from them in a body to them being in pure positive energy. And I had a dream that anchored that BS, that belief system, because what I was missing my dad, and I had a dream, and I was getting caught in that. I'm going to spend the next 4 years missing him so bad, wishing I was with him, or feeling regret, or feeling angry, or feeling like I should have, and shame around what I didn't do with him, or what I didn't, all that, all useless feelings. So I had this dream, and I was flying, and I was up on the other side in heaven, which is another word for pure positive energy for me. And I saw my dad sitting down in front of this giant big screen TV. And he wasn't alone. He had a bunch of people with him. And I'm like, Dad. So I started flying closer. I'm like, what are you watching? Closer, watch it. What are you? And I started to see that people with him were other people that I loved who were on the other side. Michael, my Grandma Blum, Dr. Jimmy, Dr. Carl, all those people. And as I flew in closer, I'm like, what are they doing? Because every once in a while they would stand up and go, whoa, yay! And then they sit down, and then every once in a while they go, yay! They clap, yay! That's our girl, that's her. And I'm like, what are they doing? And I flew in closer and closer, and I saw that they were watching me live my life. And every time I'm getting chilled. Every time something beautiful happened, they would stand and cheer for me. And I knew at that moment that that is happening not just for me, but for every single person who is on the planet living. All those who love you and are on the other side. That is their role now. They are wanting and cheering and supporting without bodies, but that is there. They're not gone. We didn't lose anybody. That energy of them is still here with us, watching. I don't think they intervene necessarily, but they could be angels. I do have really good parking luck. Every time I have things happen in my life that are unbelievable. I call them what are the chances of that? So all of that is that tool of how do I get back to the faith? How do I not see death as gone, lost forever? How do I still have a restored ability to live when those who we love so much are gone? And that is the answer. If I can be restored to a belief system and a faith, that knowing that I have not lost forever that person or that love. So if I were coaching my original friend that I gave you the description of, I would say that her husband has a big screen of her. And I know that she wants to have his physical presence with her. But one would be knowing, and people have experiences with those that they have lost all the time. They're always here to give you that support, to give you that answer, but you have to be receptive to it. My dad will, laugh every once in a while when I'm doing something because he's watching, and I know, and I hear it, and I'll say, "I know, Dad, I know." Okay. And there's that, you can make it as spooky or as you want. I don't necessarily prescribe to dead people walking or talking, but I am audio clarion and I can hear voices say things. This whole show was based on being woken up at 4:30 in the morning by a voice saying radio. Okay. My book came out of losing a $200,000 consulting project, and the voice said, "Right." When Seal Beach happened, I was woken up at 4:30 in the morning. The police had said, "Don't talk about what happened in this, what happened with the shootings with anyone else." So, but I was woken up and told to write. So I wrote not about the deaths or the shooting, but the experience of grief in that room. And it ended up on the front page of a section of the Orange County Register because it's a right, and I hit send to someone I knew who was a reporter at the paper. And that is me knowing that death is just a transition. It is not a loss. So I'm hoping that all of this, these phases, these tools were helpful to you. I know that Maria wanted this, was looking forward to this topic, Christiana as well, anyone else who didn't identify. I am hoping that this was helpful to you. This is Dr. Marissa. We've been talking about mental health matters with respect to good grief. What is good grief? If you just tuned in now, you can go and get this on my free subscribe YouTube channel. Anyone who wants to read that chapter in particular, chapter 2, Out of Loss into Faith, I'm giving the audiobook copy free out today. Just go to drmarissa.life, and then it'll ask you for your email, and then the subject line will say, what are you contacting for, and just put good grief. If you don't get that subject line and just get a pop-up for an email, I'll know that you're contacting me for the audiobook. All right. Hopefully some of my BS, my belief systems and Kool-Aid were helpful to you today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm also this week giving out more tickets to Engelbert Humperdinck from one of my fabulous show sponsors, the Savon Theater. So keep it here. We have great shows coming up. We're going to be talking about intentionality with Doctors in the House on Wednesday with Dr. Tiffany Tate. We've got Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and James Hawthorne. Actually, I think we have a substitute coming in. We have Friday Tempting Conversations. I'm getting some love from Maria for this particular episode. Thank you for continuing to support this show about hope and happiness. Now it's all about balance. Remember, peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from my living room, wishing you the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.